Monday we talked about Senator Feinstein's comments about gun control in 60 Minutes, and there are a bunch of articles floating around that are wondering why the rabid gun control politicians have seemingly given up gun control legislation. Do you believe that they have, quote, given up for now on a gun ban, and why? He goes on to say that he thinks they might know something we don't, like maybe a coming economic crisis so they can declare martial law, like closing of the banking system here in the U.S. This might explain the complete silence on the part of the media and politicians when it comes to gun control legislation. They are planning something.
Well, could be, but that's not necessarily so. I don't think they're planning anything because they have what they feel more important items on tap. They'll get around to that next year sometime, maybe the year after. It was, but is no longer a priority. There are other things that they want to do. And so I just think it's been backburnered for the moment. It's not going to go away, but, I just don't, I think it would be kind of just the opposite of what you said. I mean, if they thought there was going to be disruption in the country, I would think that they'd try to get the guns as soon as possible if they thought they could, manage that. But, they know this is not manageable. They know the public is not going to lay down for this. And they're definitely afraid of the veterans who have come back from Iraq and Afghanistan. All of them, for the most part, are of a mind that they don't like what's going on. And they went and they, did their time and get paid well for it. And I think most of them are very, very disappointed in what they found out about what was going on, so to speak. And so the government's definitely afraid of these people. And, there's a lot of veterans, even from Korea, and, of course, lots and lots of them in their 50s and 60s from Vietnam. And most of these people have, been in firefights, and they know what it is to be shot at and shoot back. And I think the government is really terrified of them. And, there's about 80 million people in this country who have gone through the military, and a good many of them have been confronted in combat. And with all those weapons out there, I would think that trying to use law enforcement or military units would be suicidal. I mean, I know that people who have guns are not, quote, organized, but, you get people mad, they organize pretty fast. And I think they have grossly underestimated the reaction of the American people when that reaction must come, and it will come. And I think they're going to be very fortunate if we can put them in jail so that we can bring them to trial for treason and other things before the mob gets a hold of them. And, that might sound like an outlandish statement, but who would have ever thought, if I had made the statement 7 or 8 years ago, that this economy is going to be like it is right now, and the fraud that was involved, the crime, and the enormous amount of funds, $12.8 trillion already. And that doesn't count, a lot of the things in the budget and the off-budget wars, which is like $3 trillion more. And so everything takes on the possibility of being doable. There is nothing that's out of the question anymore. And keep that in mind. It's very, very important because we're facing very, very difficult times. And the medicine, we'll call it, that is being given to the economy by the same people who destroyed it is not going to work. And they know that. And so there's going to be some very exciting times ahead.
Well, I'm going to skip to his third question. He's got 3 questions, and Scott lives over in Hawaii, and he was told by a friend who is a police officer that they were given a form that was a poll asking them how they felt about becoming federalized police officers. And he didn't think much about it on the time, but then there's been a video circulating on YouTube by a Christian organization about how they were talking to a man who was waiting to interview for a job at the police station, and he was actually told to wait in the office for the sergeant that would be giving his interview. As he was waiting, he heard people talking in the conference room across the hall and about the same thing, how they wanted the officials to federalize the local police departments around the country, and they wanted these officials in this meeting to hand out the questionnaires. And he saw men wearing FEMA jackets talking to various other people. So this is kind of confirming what his friend had told him last month, and now he's beginning to think that the story must have some merit.
The story has merit, and they are doing that. And police are usually local and within a state, if not more so local. And I think that they do not want to be federalized because if they are and they move against the people, they're not going to like the result. And I certainly wouldn't want to be working for FEMA because they'll get wiped out. They'll be the first ones to go.
You know what, Bob? It's been 2 years, maybe even 3 years now that I was told that New York was running placements for their police department, and they would only hire Iraq veterans, people who they had to have spent time in Iraq, and that's who they were hiring for their police. And
well, I think that's understandable. Mm-hmm. In any large city throughout the world today, many countries have the major police departments have hired not people from law enforcement, but people from military, usually retirees. A lot of military retirees throughout the world retire at 45 or 50 or 55 or 60. And these people are being given jobs that have been running combat units, or at least offices in the military of any given country. And so I think you're going to find more of this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to take action against American citizens. I think in a place like New York or Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, whatever, the problem is gangs, and they're heavily armed. And they get a lot of equipment that law enforcement doesn't have. And I think that that's why they've hired these people who can go head-to-head with these people who are in gangs. Some of them are absolutely insane. They don't care whether they get killed or not. And so I think that's the real reason behind that.
His second question is also about Governor Rick Perry, who's a New World Order. And he wants to know, why did he come out in support of a bill in the Texas legislation that declares their 10th Amendment rights against the federal government? Do you think that the Perry might be infiltrating this movement? Because Rick Perry, or is the New World Order, might be infiltrating this movement, because Rick Perry is a New World Order player helping to instigate many New World Order plans like the North American Union.
Well, we have that information in today's issue. I didn't answer any reason why he did what he did, but I think it's pretty simple. He wants to get reelected. And so what he's doing is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. He's the people will say, well, gee, he might have been for the North American Union and putting in the NAFTA highway and so on, but look, he's for sovereignty, he's changed. When in fact he hasn't changed one bit. So it's a political feint. It's a political move. And so he can get himself reelected. That's what he's up to. Sort of like a snake in the grass.
Aren't they all? Most. European carbon trading estimated by year 2020 to be worth in U.S. dollars approximately $3.5 trillion. The Sotoro administration, as was expected after Bush left office, is going to implement a carbon trading scheme per his speech yesterday.